Good morning. Welcome. Today is Saturday, September 27th. How are you? I'm running a few minutes late. My apologies for that. How's everybody doing today? It's a beautiful day. Heidi and I, that's my Sheltie. We just went out for a walk maybe a half hour ago. It's still definitely kind of summertime in Minnesota. But we're on the edge of fall. How's everybody doing? I'm really excited for what we have going on today, or rather this weekend, which is that we are finishing the Instagram profile grid that we started working on last weekend. So, oh, and Idris is here. Mouse, where are you? Here we go. Hello, welcome. Formerly known as Memory Clips. How are you doing? Have a nice day. I hope you have a nice day as well. Malik Robinson is here. Malik is one of the mods, formerly known as Go Elmo Go. Always happy to have you here. He keeps the chat. He helps keep the chat fast, fun, and friendly. My glasses. Hang on one second here. What's happening? Oof. Glasses look terrible. Well, all right. Well, I guess it's going to be a little bit cloudy today. Honestly, hang on one second. I have to clean my glasses. I can't see a darn thing. Sorry about that. This is a lot harder when I can't see anything. So, Idris, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. You're welcome. Terry Murray is here. Welcome, Terry Murray. Good morning, Angela and friends. Good morning, Terry. Happy to have you. So, I'm excited about what we have going on. Before we jump in to this, I want to share something that I posted this week. I've started to do so my normal routine, I think most of you already know this, is that I take the live streams, I edit out the chat and the talking and things like that, and I edit them into really focused project builds. And then however long it takes to complete a project during the live stream, that is how often I release those as separate videos. And I was like, I actually have time to do additional builds during the week. So I started doing what I'm calling a midweek build. And I've done a couple so far, so it's not anything that's done during the live stream, and I am kind of particularly proud of this one. This is the one that I finished this past week. I released it yesterday morning, Friday, and it just turned out really, really well, and I want to show it to people. It's got my favorite kind of a layout, which is a masonry layout. Just a reminder, masonry layouts are column-based layouts. So if you need to organize your content in rows, this is not an appropriate layout. But if it's okay for you to organize your content in columns, this is a great layout. And I just use CSS columns to build this. So you don't need Flexbox, you don't need Grid, you don't need anything like that. It's pretty straightforward with columns. Again, I had a comment, I've done other videos with masonry layouts, and I don't spend a lot of time in those videos talking about why masonry or a column-based layout isn't appropriate for every type of content, especially dynamic content. I don't talk about that because I don't want to derail from the tutorial or how to actually achieve the layout. And I had a comment on one of my videos, and this person wasn't really being rude or anything, but they were just like, you can't use dynamic content, and if you need it in a rows, it's in columns, and you can't do a load more. And I was like, yeah, I know. It is my favorite type of layout though. So I do a lot of videos with masonry column-based layouts because I just love how it looks. It's not appropriate for everything. But the thing that I really like about this is the on-scroll animated header. It's nice and responsive. I don't know. I just love how this turned out. So if you're interested in building something like this, I do have this as a video on the channel. And I just wanted to show it off because here's the thing about being a front-end developer. It never gets old. I literally never get tired of seeing my work in the browser. It is one of the things that drew me to front-end development, and it's one of the things that keeps me going. And I do a lot of projects now. On average, I am working on 1 to 2 projects per week. And by working on, I mean starting and finishing 1 to 2 projects per week. So I do a lot of these landing page type builds, and the more I do it, the faster I'm getting, the more efficient I'm getting, and I just get that like dopamine hit of seeing my work in the browser. So there's that. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about our build. So here's what we're working on today. We did finish this top part of this last week, and I pulled up our mock-up so we can compare. There is very clearly a different font. So I am going to pop our mock-up, which is a literal screenshot from Instagram. I follow Tori Spelling, and we're gonna see if ChatGPT can tell us what font this is. I have a feeling it's like Helvetica or something like that, so we'll see. There are clearly some differences here with spacing, typography, things like that. But I think looking at these side by side, you get the gist. You can tell that this is a clone, and I personally love it. I think it looks great. So we're going to make some minor adjustments to the layout, spacing, a rem, a pixel, things like that here and there, but we're not going to make a bunch of changes, and I am not going to spend a lot of time looking for a new font. If I can't quickly and easily find typography that is a little closer to what Instagram actually uses, I'm not going to bother with it at all because it's not a good use of our time. So there's that. Let me see here. Monique is here. Welcome, Monique. Happy to have you. Yes, we have Nightbot now. Nightbot is some open source chat. I don't know if it's open source. It's free. It's chat moderation. So this is new. I've only had Nightbot for about a week. So if Nightbot is spamming our chat, I will make adjustments as needed. We had one day this week on the daily stand-up where Malik, you were here. Nightbot was definitely spamming the chat. So we'll make adjustments as needed. So, but overall, I'm happy to have Nightbot on board. And I will say this, some of the restrictions that I had on chat, I have removed. So the chat is now subscriber only, but I removed slow mode and I removed the 20-minute restriction. So we'll see how that goes. I can add those back if we need to. We have a pretty good chat on this channel. Also, I don't have a very big audience, so that probably helps. So, okay, so here's what I want to do first. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and add a screenshot. And see if we can figure out, ideally, a Google font. Can you tell me what font typography this is? Ideally, a a Google Web font. Yeah, okay, good eye. Instagram uses its own proprietary typefaces, but their UI fonts closely resemble some publicly available families that you can use. Here's a breakdown. Username and follower counts. Font used by Instagram is Instagram Sans, their custom font. Closest Google font Enter. Okay, fair enough. Enter's clean geometric sans serif shape matches Instagram Sans very well for UI elements. Poppins can work too if you want a slightly rounder, friendlier letter forms. Bio, text, and links. Closest Google font is Roboto or Interregular. Roboto is slightly more neutral and very close to what Instagram uses for body copy on Android. Interregular has almost identical X height and tracking to what you see on iOS. Buttons. These are system UI fonts depending on platform. SF Pro on iOS, Roboto on Android. For a consistent cross-platform web project, Inter or Roboto at weight 500 gives the same feel. Okay, so to replicate this in this entire UI cleanly with Google Fonts, I'd suggest Inter as our root font. So for the user, so setting it as a variable font UI for the username, the bio, and the buttons. So basically for everything. Okay, let's do it. Let's just swap out the fonts and see how it goes. I'm down with it. I'm just sort of comparing these two. This is what we did last week. So this is a little, I can tell that this is a little different. The G is different. This O is a little rounder. I can tell that this is a little more condensed. Inter? No, maybe not, because this is longer. What about the A? A is the same. The T is the same. The G is different. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I can tell that it just doesn't quite look right. I'll just swap this out. Oh yeah, I can tell a difference. This is a little more condensed, but it's taller. Yeah, it's taller. It's not so, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Squat, squishy. Yeah, so that I'm good with that. Okay, so here are some of the changes that I want to make so far going from top to bottom. We have a lot of padding here on the left, but this looks about right on the right. So I'm just going to reduce the padding here, and we have less padding. There's less padding here. So we're going to go ahead and reduce that as well. So let's start with our header. I'm going to do separate padding just for the header. I'll keep 1 rem on top, 0 on the left and right. Oh, and we also need this background color. And actually, I'm okay with that, but we still need more padding over here. So we'll do top, right, bottom, left. Top, right, bottom, left. Yeah. And then maybe we don't need any on the bottom, actually. Top, right. So this would also be 0. So technically, it's like that. And then main, let's do the same thing for main. So for main, what happens if we just take the padding off the top and bottom? That looks pretty good. I mean, that made a huge difference. I love it. Okay. Now, so I kind of feel like the name and posts, followers, following are the same color, and these numbers are different. So I think I'm just going to change the color of the name and put a little extra space there. That's all I'm going to do. So this would be charcoal instead. And then I think just some margin on the bottom. I don't know if 1 rem is too much. I think that's a little much. Maybe just 0.5. There we go. And then I think that our borders are a little too thick. So let's adjust those. There, look at that. Wow. And then I actually think that this should be, what's our other color? Gray. Just the gray. Is that accessible? We'll find out. I don't even remember if we checked accessibility for some of these. We'll do it right now. I think. Font size. Yeah, this needs to be a little bigger, doesn't it? There we go. And then let's check. And it meets the AA standard for contrast. So that works for me. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna stop now because I could just sit here and do this all day long. And then I think these links could be taken down a notch. So that would be our bold style. And I had one other thing that I wanted to do to this bold style. So I'm going to change this to 600. And then I'm also going to add that this, if it's an anchor that's bold, it should get these things. So if we add that bold class to something, we don't want text decoration. Well, I don't think that would necessarily come up if it didn't have it to begin with. Well, anyways, I'm just going to change that to include anchors that are bold. So there we go. Oh, that makes a huge difference. That makes a huge difference. As far as I'm concerned, this top part is done. I love it. And then this also right here, I think for these images, this is a 3-pixel border, so let's bring it down to 2. And then maybe these could just be like a smidge smaller. So if we change that to 2.75, how does that look? Yeah, that would do it. I think this is just like the funnest part of these clones. Just the funnest part. Doing these little adjustments. I love it. It looks great. I feel like this is aligned. It's pretty darn close. All right, let's get our buttons in order. Let's see here. This is the profile, description, followed by, and then these are our call to action buttons. CTA buttons. All right. So these are the buttons by default are display inline block. I don't think I changed the property for those. Nope, I didn't. And these have a class of button. So let's just go ahead and style these as a global style. So we already took off the border and the background color and the padding. So we could probably, I'm going to leave these styles for future buttons and only style the button with a class of button. So we are going to be adding some things back in. So I'm going to say padding 1 rem on top, 1.5 rems on the left and right. Background color. Trying to adjust my mic so it's not in the way. Let me know if you have trouble hearing me. So the background color is going to be this. Is it the, I think it's the light gray. And then the color is going to be, I'm going to do the charcoal. We can adjust that if we need to. And then there is a border radius, unfortunately. But my hands are tied. It's a clone. Okay. So we need a little, these need to be bold. So let's just go ahead and do font weight 600. .5 rems on the top and bottom. Yeah, that's pretty good. We need a little extra border radius. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then let's also give this a class of button. And we need to wrangle that SVG in. I said that just for you, Malik. And then anything with a class of button that has an SVG, it's pretty small. So maybe a width of 1.25 rems by a height of 1.25 rems. And then we need to, we might not, might not need that much padding. Let's see here. This is going to help us decide. So the height of the entire button is 34.4 pixels. The height of this button is 39.9 pixels. So we can probably just take this down. We might have to set a height on this, although that was pretty good. That was pretty close. We do need more width, so maybe just a rem. .9. I don't really want to set a height on these buttons because we have 3 buttons with text and the text all has a consistent size. It's the SVG that kind of throws things off, right? So I would rather tinker with the size of the SVG than set a height on the button. I think that's a better approach. I think we also need to adjust the line height on this. Yeah, that does help. That's pretty close. I would rather do this than adjust the line height, and I would rather adjust the padding than the line height. Spelling, words. What else did I do? I'm going to set this to auto. 0. What did I do? 85. And maybe just give this a smudge more padding. That looks pretty good. You know what else we could do is on this SVG, not last week, but the week before, we did learn how to add stroke to an SVG that only has fill. So right here. And the stroke is a unitless number. It is a ratio of the value in the view box. I think I'm understanding that correctly. So I think that we could make this stroke a little beefier. Yeah, look at that. That makes a huge difference. So don't be afraid to get in and mess with your SVGs. In fact, we could even do a little bit more. Don't be afraid to mess with your SVGs. It's just code. That's all it is. It's just code. I think we could even do a little more. Bit much. Yeah, perfect. Now, did it adjust? 36.89 is our height. 36.8. I mean, it's good enough for me. Now let's just add some more padding on the left and right so we can space these out a bit. And you know, normally I try to write CSS that keeps things super flexible, like because I've spent so many years of my life as a developer building for content management systems. And what happens in a content management system? It gets handed off to the content creators. They're not developers. And asking them, first of all, any design that you make, you never know what it's really going to look like until actually content gets put into that design. That's where you really know what your bugs are, and that's when you really need to do your QA. Excuse me. And asking content creators whose job it is to like write content and think about SEO and do image sourcing, asking them to master tools like Photoshop and to master cropping and optimizing, that's really the developer's job or the creative team's job, in my opinion. So I've spent so many years of my life designing for maximum flexibility and not asking the content creators to do something that I think is the developer's job. And my point in saying this is that this feels like a completely different situation to me. This is such a clone, like building this clone of this particular UI element is so specific. It is so specific and so tightly controlled by Instagram about what actually appears in here. That's why I feel more willing to take the approach that I'm taking, not using Flexbox, but using padding to get the spacing just right, things like that. So I don't know, worth mentioning, just worth mentioning. And I'm just gonna yeah, 1.45 rems on the left and right. And then that's our container right there. Works beautifully. Yeah, though, I wonder, see, but now, am I really taking into account different screen sizes by doing that? Am I overthinking? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Instantly flawed. Okay. So, yeah, this isn't a good rationale, is it? So it's probably better. But then how much padding do you actually give your buttons? But you can force it to stay in a row with Flexbox, right? Mm-hmm. Unless we give our padding a percentage. So we could still do rems on the top and bottom, but give it a percentage. Would that hold up? Because you still need to define padding in order to, maybe a percentage would work. So if we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, if you gave it 5% padding and gave this container text align center, okay, well, disregard everything I just said. I am going to Flexbox this CTA container. Yeah. Because I can still force it to be in a row and shrink and grow. Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a nice theory. So I'll do display flex, flex, flow, row, no wrap. Justify content. I'm going to do space between. We'll do a line item center. Oh, CTAs. And then we still have to just figure out a way to make these buttons. So this is the smallest size, which is the iPhone SE 375. And then there's the biggest size. So we probably want to clamp the padding. Yes. So we need to clamp the padding, which I have done a couple of times. What is the best way to clamp padding on the left and right in CSS? Good question. There are a few clean ways to clamp horizontal padding depending on what you're trying to achieve. Here are the best approaches. Use clamp directly in padding inline. If you want padding that grows with the viewport but never goes below or above certain values. Okay, so if we have 1 rem, so we know that 1 rem is the minimum on iPhone SE because this looks pretty good. And then if we go to iPhone 14 Pro Max, we know that we need a lot more. So maybe 1.5 is the maximum. Or maybe 1.45. 1.45 is the maximum. What about, but how do we maintain? Now we just need to make sure that there's always a gap. That's how we make sure that there's space in between. Gap, 0.25 rems. There we go. So we could increase this to anything, and there's always a consistent gap. Okay, this is starting to make sense. So we want to do on the CTA's buttons, we're going to do padding inline. So this button is going to continue to have, I'm going to leave these styles here. This is just going to be more specific for this container. So clamp. We want 1 rem on the low end, and then we know we want 1.45 rems on the high end. So I'm going to try 2.5 VW. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work because I'm trying to do this for all small screens. If you want slightly simpler math or better legacy support, or so there's max, ensures padding is never less than 1 rem, but can grow with the viewport. Oh yeah, I think this is going to be. Ensures padding never exceeds 3 rems, but scales up and hits that cap. So I think okay, on the low end, I'm trying to account for several small screen sizes. Can I do this? Padding inline, clamp, max, 1 rem, 1.45 rems, 2.5. You know what? I think max is actually exactly what I want because I'm just trying to do this on small screens. Okay. I'm trying to account for several small screens, not really desktop sizes. This is the perfect use of ChatGPT. Taking a screenshot of a problem you're having and letting it look at it and help you come up with solutions. This is what I have found to be the best use of ChatGPT. So if you're only tuning for small screens, you use a fluid inline padding that never goes below or above your small device bounds, and don't mix it with the padding shorthand. That's why your rule isn't taking effect. Set block padding explicitly. Fluid left-right padding with min-max caps. SVW. Use SVW to avoid iOS. Use 4 to 5 SVW. Why your screenshot wasn't working? What is SVW? Hang on. MDN CSS SVW. Small viewport. The small viewport specifically refers to the viewport when the browser's dynamic UI elements, like address bars or navigation controls on, no, that's not. Relative unit. SVW is a relative unit, meaning its value changes depending on the width of the small viewport. For example, if the small viewport is 320 pixels wide, then 1 SVW would be 3.2 pixels. Okay. The SVW unit is particularly useful for creating responsive designs that need to adapt to different screen sizes and account for the presence of dynamic browser UI elements, especially on mobile devices. By using SVW, developers can ensure that elements scale appropriately even when the available content area is reduced by the browser's interface. Comparison to other viewport units. VW, viewport width, represents 1% of the large viewport's width when dynamic browser UI elements are minimized. LVW, large viewport width, equivalent to VW. DVW, dynamic viewport width, represents 1% of the dynamic viewport's width, which adjusts between the large and small viewport sizes as browser UI elements appear or disappear. So width, 50 SVW. The width of this element will be 50% of the small viewport's width. Font size, 3 SVW. The font size will be 3% of the small viewport's width. Cap only the minimum. Let it keep growing. So the maximum, cap only the maximum, tight on tiny screens, comfy up to a limit. Okay, this might work. So it also didn't like that I had these styles up here. It said not to do this. So instead of this, we'll just do padding top, and padding bottom. Cap only the maximum, tiny on tight on tiny screens, comfy up to a limit. Cap only the minimum, let it keep growing. I actually think that this is the right way to do this. That works. 4.5 SVW. We just want to make sure. See, normally what you would do is you would just set a width on each of the items in the container. That's not what we want. We want the width of the item to be as big as the text or the SVG, right? So that's why you can't just say 25% or 20%. So I feel like we could also, I'm not going to mess with the gap. So there's more gap in some spots here. So what happens on, yeah, that doesn't quite work, does it? That's okay. That's okay. All right, so we'll do 4 SVW. This seems to work. Oh, that was an adventure, huh? And, you know, maybe we don't need gap. crap. That's pushing that out of the container though. So maybe we just need a lower end. And then we could still have... Nope. Well, who knew, huh? Who knew? All right, well, we're going to stick with this. 0.9 and 4 SVW. Seems to work. I feel like I'm overthinking this, though. I feel like I'm overthinking this. But also, I'm not. So. That works. That works. All right. Moving on. And let's see what's happening here in the chat. Malik says, yep, I'm done fighting with this masonry layout. I should have been finished 3 days ago. It will now just be a brick wall. With varying widths. Masonry style has beaten me. I mean, do you need it to be in rows? Why can't you just use columns? I'm curious. Tell me why you can't use columns. Is it because you need the content to be in rows? No one is here. Welcome, no one. I think you're responding to my comments about CMSs. I was freelancing on a front-end project with a 25 megabyte image and 100 plus megabyte video, and the hardest part was compressing them without losing quality. Yeah, a lot of times your CMSs will have limits. You can set a limit and keep people from uploading anything that isn't properly optimized. And I mean, I do take advantage of that. So I do make sure that I implement things like that when I can and when allowed. WordPress has good controls for that. Any CMS should have good controls for that. And then there have to be people on the team. Usually, in my experience, it's the creative team. They're more technical because they're using those design tools every day. So they should really be the ones providing the solutions for image optimization and video optimization. And if not, then the developers should be able to help with that too. But the content creators generally, it's a bad idea to try and get people who are responsible for image sourcing and writing and SEO to put them also in charge of optimization. In my experience, it's a bad idea. So, oh, and Malik says, note, my posts are dynamic and I have used every variant of columns and none of them worked. So you couldn't do a masonry layout without with columns? That's the easiest way to do it. Let me know if you want help with that. You send me the link to your GitHub. If you want help with that, I'll help you with that. If you don't, let me know. But columns is the best way to do it. Unless you just don't like the result of, like, unless you're doing like a load more or pagination or something like that, let me know if you want help. I'm happy to look. I even used your past live for reference and it still doesn't work for me. Malik, let's connect offline this week and look at it together. I would like to help you with that, okay? Because you're doing basically a Pinterest clone, and the whole essence of Pinterest is masonry. So it sounds like you're stuck. Let me know if you want help and I will help you. So, because I want you to be able to do your to finish your layout, and I understand the frustration. So, let me know. I will help. Okay. We're good. We're good with buttons. We're moving on. So the next thing that we need to do is this part right here. I'm not actually going to do tabbed content. I have one grid of photos. I don't have additional tabs for these things. So we will put these in, but these will not actually function as tabbed content. It's just going to be this. Let's see here. So these are the button tabs. And I am also going to flexbox this. Okay, good. I don't want to like force you to accept my help. So let's connect and maybe we can set up a Zoom this week. Let's connect and I will help you. So, because and here's the thing about like, it's okay to ask for help. There is like nothing wrong with that. And I know better than anybody how hard it is to ask for help. And in my experience, the best help is not when somebody does it for you, but when somebody explains something to you and then points you in the right direction. That is the way that I like to help people. So just to be clear about what it really means to have help. It's not to do something for somebody. It's just to take a look and see if I can spot something that you're not seeing that's keeping you from achieving what you're doing. So, okay, so the button tabs, we'll do flex flow. I'm going to do row, no wrap. Justify content. And I'm going to say that this is based on the spacing that I'm seeing here. And we see this line here, right? This sort of indicates to me that this would be the size of the button, which means that there's space in between. So probably we want to do space evenly is what I'm guessing. And then these SVGs are all roughly the same size, but not exactly the same height. So I'm going to do align items center. Yeah. And then let's put a little, I'm going to add some margin just to push this down and just get it out of my way. And that's just temporary. Just so I can see what I'm doing and not be bothered by all of this. And then these buttons need, well, technically we do need some margin here, don't we, on the top. And then I think these buttons just need, what do we think about the size? I think these SVGs need to be a little bit smaller. Clearly there's quite a bit of padding here. So I think these SVGs right now are 3 by 3, which is what we set as a global style, just to kind of get things under control. And technically, these should all have a class, right? Which they don't. So we do have a class called icon button, but we're going to change the size. We're going to change the size. Maybe we want to do a different class. Yeah, let's do a different class. We'll do, so instead of icon button, we'll do tab button because it is different. So let's go with a width of 2 rems, a height of 2 rems, and then tab button, SVG. Oh, and you know what? This is the wrong one. Actually gonna increase this to 4. And then this. I'm going to change the width to 2 rems and the height to 2 rems, which means the padding would be 1 rem. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4. And we'll see how that looks. Yeah, that works good. That works good. And how much you want to bet? We'll put this down. How much you want to bet we don't need padding now? Or margin, rather. Yeah, that works. Just like that. And then we can just add an underline for an active button. And then we're going to change the inactive color to this lighter gray. And even though we're not actually making tab content, I did put in the ARIA pressed attribute. So if you are making tab content, you would update ARIA pressed to let a screen reader know which button is pressed and which accordion or item they're looking at, which container they're looking at. So we can use ARIA press. We could also add an active class. Easy enough to do with a little bit of JavaScript. So our fill and stroke, just to cover our bases, would be gray. And then the tab button active, SVG, would be, I'm going to use the charcoal. There we go. Actually, black. That should be black. There we go. And then let's get that underline for the active, which the underline would just go, I'm just going to do a border bottom. So I'll do border bottom. I'm going to do 3 pixels, solid black. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I put it on the SVG. That's why. It goes on the button. There we are. I kind of want to swap out this SVG. Let's see here. Grid. Filled. Yeah, let's grab this filled version of the grid. And I'm adding aria hidden true. And it doesn't have any inline colors, so our styles should work just fine. There we go. And then if we take off this active class, you can see there that the underline and the color goes back to gray. Just like that. So I'm just Command Z, Control Z, just like that. Beautiful. All right. What do we think? I love it. All right, let's get our grid taken care of. So let's take our margin off. And this is here's the post grid. And the first thing that I'm going to do is correctly size these images. And anything that has an SVG and a fig caption, I want to get those taken care of first. Yeah. So I'm going to do the post, whoops. I'm going to do the post grid figure. And this is going to be position relative. And we already have on our fig captions access hidden, so those aren't displaying. And then we're going to do post grid SVG. And these are going to be position absolute, top 0, right 0. And that should immediately clean us up. Yep, just like that. And we're going to need a little z-index. So I'm going to say z-index 0 on the parent and z-index 1. And then we want a fill of white. And I'll also do a stroke of white just to cover my bases. There we go. Beautiful. So now we can get these images into the grid, and I don't have these SVGs getting in my way. And I guess I'm just going to do grid, right? Display grid. Grid template columns. What is it? Repeat 3, 1 FR. Is that right? There we go. And then we're also going to, what is our aspect ratio roughly? Well, let's see here. So this is the way I do it. I just kind of roughly sketch it out using preview. And what is that? 393 by 516. So 393 divided by 516. I want to actually go in the other direction. .31. So it's 1 to 1.31. So I'm going to say with 100% height auto aspect ratio 1 to 1.31, and then the post grid image is going to be a width of 100%, height of 100%, and object fit cover. Nice. Now let's give this a tiny little bit of grid, or excuse me, gap, just a little bit. Right up here. So not very much, like, I don't know, 3 pixels. Not even that much. 1 pixel? 1 pixel. Look at that. Oh, it looks like I duplicated some. That's okay. And we have some images that are missing. It's like a real Instagram grid. You guys, it's so cool. And then let's put, for our bottom 3, we'll swap out this pin for our version of a Reels. Oh, and I think we just need like 1 pixel of margin below these buttons. Yeah. All right. And then let's style our SVGs. So I think these are a little smaller, maybe 1.25. Hang on, wrong thing. These right here. And move this down a little bit. And then let's go ahead and transform, rotate. We want to go this way, so negative 45 degrees, positive 45 degrees. Wow, it looks so cool. And then let's swap out these SVGs, and let's take out this duplicate image. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll take this out. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get in a different SVG. So we'll get our video camera outline. We'll add ARIA hidden true. And we'll take out the current color after we get them all in. And then we also need our fig caption. The fig caption explains the relationship between the SVG and the image. And that is for the screen reader. So we're going to say pinned reel, pinned reel. And then let's take out anything that says current color. All right, and so we need to these are pointed in the wrong direction, which is fine. So for let's go ahead and that's why we have classes, right? So by default, we're going to do a positive 45-degree angle, but we could also, in here, we could say, we could just go ahead and say real icon. Or instead of using real, we could just say video icon. Yeah. And then we can give that a different style. Because that is what class names are for. So this will be negative 45. Oh, I think we need to, we're going to have to, no, it needs to be, hang on. What is it if it's nothing? So it needs to be 90 plus 45, which is 135. That was too much. Hang on. Don't tell me. So negative, so if it goes this way and then points down, it's 90 degrees. Plus 45. math. So 215. There we go. I love it. Oh, I still have duplicate puppies. Okay, that's fine. Well, one second. All right. So we still have some duplicate puppies here. You know what, though? I'm not worried about the duplicate puppy picture. I just want to get the styles ironed out. So far, I am loving this. I am loving this. I have a feeling that let's see here. See if we can fix our images. I'm just going to take out the ones because I don't want to spend a bunch of time right now digging around for images. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So maybe this is a pinned post and a pinned reel of puppies. Yeah. I like it. And I'm going to take out the last one just so our grid is nice and tidy. There we go. I love it. I feel like this should only be on 2 lines. Let's just adjust this a little bit. So is that just because boy, I see now. I mean, I never ever considered how difficult it was to I've always just thought of responsive design as desktop, mobile. Maybe you give some consideration to an iPad. I don't think I've ever really put this much thought into different mobile screen sizes the way it's occurring to me that you kind of have to. Yeah, I don't know. It's just an observation, something I hadn't really thought of before. Um, it would be nice. So if this is translate backwards 1 rem, couldn't I just say with 100% plus 1 rem instead of messing with the font size? No, that doesn't. Yeah, you can't really, it's not letting me even force it open. All right, moving on. All right, let's get this footer taken care of. All right. Oh, we're doing really well. Okay, so our footer, let's see here. We're going to have to go back to 100%. There we go. That works. All right. So our footer looks like this. I want to check and see what's happening with these. Yeah, we can leave these here for now. If we need to come back and adjust these, we can. So for the footer, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons. So I'm just going to go ahead and flexbox it. For justify content, I'm going to space around, which doesn't put it all the way up to the edge. It leaves some space, and then it spaces evenly everything else. And we'll do align items center. And I don't think we'll need a gap. And then let's get, so we've got basically buttons with icons with an SVG, and then we've got one button with an image. And I mean, how similar are these buttons to these buttons? Pretty close. The default color is different in the footer. That's it. So if we give these a class of, what was it, tab button? And then we can just change the default color for the footer tab button. SVG. The default color is black, so I'm going to do fill, black, and stroke. Black. And we can also update our house. Let's get a house that's not an outline but a fill. Yep, this works. And we'll make this aria hidden true. Oh, look at that. And then let's make our little profile image a circle, and then we just have to adjust some spacing. That took 5 minutes. What's happening? Why is this so, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. So let's go footer, figure, I'm gonna say width 100%, height auto, aspect ratio, whoops, 1:1. I know I could just do 1, but nah. And then border radius 50%. And then we'll do footer image. Width 100%, height 100%, object fit cover. What is happening here? Footer. Overflow hidden. You have to hide the overflow when you do the border radius. There we go. Look at that. And then we have a lot of extra space on the footer. I think that we can, yeah, let's go back and adjust our padding. So where's main? So we can take these off. We don't need these. So I'm going to say 0 padding on the top, 1 rem of padding on the left and right, and 2 rems of padding on the bottom. Yeah, that works. That works. I love it. Wow. I can't be the only one who has things, who you build things, everything for the most part goes the way it's supposed to, and then you just sort of wait for the other shoe to drop. So I can't be the only one who does that. Monique, think positive thoughts. Well, I can be positive and also be extremely suspicious. That's how I look at it. So Malik says, I am peaches and cream right now. Things happen. I just feel like I've been working on this project for too long. You know what? That's a normal part of being a developer, and it is such a good, I know it feels frustrating, but it's a good experience to have. Trust me, because that's when you learn when done is better than perfect. And that's an important thing to realize when you're a developer. So, this is it. This was the plan for today, was to finish styling this grid and to get this looking like this. So I just want to tinker with this a little bit. I'm still sort of annoyed by this. I'm going to make this a tiny bit smaller, and I'm going to change the font size for this to 0.9 rems. And the best I'm going to be able to do is that it wraps to 3 lines. And I'm not going to worry about it. There we go. I can live with that. This works for me. So yeah, Monique, you understand the struggle. Progress versus perfection. Yep. And Vivekanand Singh, just scrolling my YouTube, found your live stream super cool. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out. Love having you. We do this every weekend. We just do front-end development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We hang out, we nerd out, we enjoy seeing our work in the browser. All right, well, let's get this pushed up to GitHub. And then let's check it out and see how it looks on mobile. And excellent timing. We're about an hour and 48 minutes in. So this is perfect. I really wasn't sure if this was going to take the whole weekend. So this means we can start our new project tomorrow. Button and grid styles. All right, and let me plug in my phone. And we can take a look on mobile. And if anybody wants to take a look at the demo, it's in the description. It's linked in the GitHub in the GitHub repository, and GitHub page demo are both linked in the description, is what I'm trying to say. All right. Oh, this looks crazy. It actually doesn't look that bad at all, but this obviously doesn't look right. So let's see if we can refine these buttons a little bit. Clearly it's spacing them all out exactly evenly. Yeah, that growth. I can see what it's doing there. I know I'm overthinking this button issue, but I don't know why or how. Well, let's take a look at mobile, which I'm somewhat sure is going to be okay. And then let's just spend a second thinking. Yes. No, and you are absolutely right. The most satisfying part of any project: git add, git commit, git push. It does feel good. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? I do not have. Well, here, I can add it. I don't think. Gosh darn it. Let me add it. Nope, it didn't work, did it? You know what? I can't share my phone. And it's totally my fault. Sorry about that. Um, I can do this. Not gonna work. Not really. Gosh, I can't even remember. How do I share my phone? Oh, I know how to hang. It's this. There we go. And one moment. Hold, please, while I get my act together. There we go. All right. This is what happens when you tinker with your settings. You're like, I'm just going to change this one thing. And then this happens. Okay. All right. I think it looks fantastic. I mean, it would be really, really cool to actually make this interactive and have it scroll through as a post feed. But this is pretty cool too. And we did this entire project without any JavaScript. It was purely just recreate the UI. That's all this was. Oh, look at the image, looks a little wonky up there, doesn't it? See, it looks okay here. Oh, you can't see that. It looks okay here, but on iOS, it doesn't look quite right, does it? That's worth exploring. Everything else looks really good, though. Yeah, this was a fun little project. You can't see the background gray. That's just a result of, I think that's just OBS kind of blowing out those gray colors. That happens a lot when I use light gray, like borders and subtle shadows and things like that. Just don't come through. They don't translate well on OBS, but they are there. Not quite sure what the deal is with that image, but I know we did something that was like kind of not traditional, like, let's see here with the profile. So we did padding, border, and then a background with a combination of a linear gradient and a conic gradient. So something with this padding box and border box iOS does not like. So that's interesting. That's something to kind of explore and dig into. So the two things that I would probably spend a little time on, but I don't think that I'm gonna this is one of those situations where I'm just gonna say, you know what? Done is better than perfect. There's some technical debt here. There's some things that could be improved and figured out. Done is better than perfect. I would like to understand better what's happening with this gradient background. What is happening with how we're getting this gradient background. I've never even heard of conic gradient before. So this would be, I would like to understand this a little bit better. And clearly there's something here that's not that doesn't play well with iOS. So between that and sort of this issue with the buttons, I think this is the first time where I've had to make sure that buttons of different widths, so it's an organic width based on the size of the text, or in our case, an SVG, maintains its width, and grows and shrinks appropriately based on the screen size. So I think those are the two things where I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I'm not actually sure how to deal with that. Yeah, but for the purposes of our project, we're done. And this, I still think it turned out great. So I have no regrets. I have no regrets. So thank you, Malik. Very smooth. Turned out great. And Vivekanand says, I am a Python programmer learning by making things. Currently working on a hand gesture recognizer, a YouTube video downloader, and a Galaxy control app. Whoops. Using my fingertip. Always a fan of the content. Thank you. Thank you for that. And let's see here. No one says, question, what is your favorite book genre? Fiction, nonfiction, or self-help? Probably nonfiction. I'm a big fan of, I don't want to call it like cheap detective mysteries, but there's a writer, Michael Conley. So I'm a fan of like, so Amazon Prime had a series called Harry Bosch, or Bosch, I think it's just called. And now there's another series that they have, what's her name? Renee. I can't remember her last name. Anyways, the books are written by Michael Conley, who is a crime reporter in Los Angeles, and he's been writing these books for years. That's probably one of my favorite series of books because they're super engaging. They're super interesting. And I just enjoy reading them, and I can read them really fast. I like them. So I'm kind of a big fan of just like the detective crime drama, just because they're so easy to read. What else? But some of my favorite books, like probably my two favorite books are of all time. First is Cold Mountain, which I think the author is Charles Frazier, and that was a movie with Nicole Kidman and what's his name? Jude Law. It's an older movie, but it's a really good movie, but the book is really, it's the same, but it's different. It's like a different spirit, but it's still really, really good. What else do I love? I love the book, The Time Traveler's Wife. I love anything about time travel. I don't know what it is. I'm obsessed by time travel. I just think it's so interesting, and I like seeing different authors' interpretations of time travel. And what else? I don't know. I don't read as much as I used to. But I think I enjoy nonfiction the most, but I've also read a fair amount, I enjoy fiction the most, but I've still read a fair amount of nonfiction. So, but I haven't read a lot lately. Probably in the last year, I haven't read very many books at all. I should be reading more. Yeah, so there's that. Good question. All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it good for today. Thank you so much to everybody who hung out with me and watched me build this project. I'm obviously thrilled that we got this done today. Tomorrow, I do have another project lined up. So if you wanna, we're gonna clone the homepage of a website that already exists. It's a website called nitpicks.com. So we're gonna start that tomorrow. And that is a project that I'm actually building for my side hobby called Fiber and Craft. So I'm excited to start that. I think that's going to probably take up the better part of October, if not the whole month of October, which is completely fine. Yeah, so we'll start working on that tomorrow. We'll start gathering some assets and writing some HTML tomorrow. And then the Instagram grid profile project, I'm going to get this edited tonight, and this will be released as a standalone project this week, probably on Tuesday. This will come out. And if you are interested, again, in this project, which is called the Solo Masonry blog, I released this yesterday on Friday. This is about a 4-hour build, and I really enjoyed making this. I had a lot of fun building this. The header, I'm really proud of this header. Just look at this. Look how beautiful this header is. I love it. And we've got an on scroll. It just turned out so good. Really, really enjoyed building this. So if you're curious about how this was made, definitely check it out. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Thank you to everybody who hung out with me today. Do me a favor. If you haven't liked the video yet, please hit the thumbs up. That helps the algorithm. It helps me push out this content to more people who might be interested in front-end development. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate it so much if you would do so. I'm here every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We just do front-end development with HTML, vanilla CSS, and vanilla JavaScript. So with that being said, have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.